Hello everyone. Let's begin with the rapid revision of neuroendocrine. Okay, this is one of the most important units. You expect one to two questions from this unit. Okay, we'll start with the very basic. So we are going to discuss what endocrine glands. So before discussing the endocrine glands, let's discuss about what is a gland. So glands are specialized cells, okay, which produce or secrete something. And when they have produced or secreted something, this secretion has to reach to the target organ. So on the basis of this only, whether the secretion reaches the target organ via a duct or whether the secretion reaches the target organ via the blood vessel, the glands are divided into exocrine gland and endocrine gland. The main difference lies is the exocrine gland have ducts, and in the endocrine gland the ducts are absent. Okay, so in the exocrine glands what it will be? It will be like this, that the gland has produced a secretion and this is the target organ where the secretion has to go. Okay, so there will be a duct connecting both of them, and the secretion will travel via this duct and reach the target organ. Okay, whereas what will happen in the endocrine gland? This is the gland, this is the target organ. There is no duct, duct is absent. So they will release their secretions into the blood, and the blood will carry them to their target organs. Okay, so this is the most important and the most basic difference between the glands. Now let's see the endocrine glands of the body. So what all endocrine glands are you aware of? What all are present in the body and where are they present? So in the brain you have pineal, pituitary. Who controls the pituitary? Hypothalamus. Okay. Then in the neck you have thyroid and parathyroid. Then in the abdomen you have pancreas. Pancreas is a mixed gland because it serves both endocrine as well as exocrine functions. Then there are kidneys. Over the kidneys you have this samosa shaped gland, the triangular shaped gland, that is adrenal. And then you have the gonads. Okay, these are the major endocrine glands of the body. What do these endocrine glands secrete? They secrete a chemical which is known as hormone. So endocrine glands secrete hormone. Hormone can be of three types. Either they can come from proteins, or they can come from lipids, or they can come from a single amino acid. And which is this single amino acid from which certain hormones come? This is tyrosine. Okay. Now they can ask you the various examples. We will remember the main thyroxine and catecholamines. They come from tyrosine. Then all the steroids, glucocorticoid, the mineralocorticoid, the aldosterone, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, everything comes from the lipids, and remaining everything is protein. Okay, just remember this much, not much of a use in the rapid revision. Okay, then we begin with our first gland, that is pituitary. See in endocrine, what question they are asking you people? They are asking name of the gland and its function, and maximum they are asking that if the gland is disturbed, what disorder will it cause? Okay, we will prepare ourselves on the basis of these three things. Okay, first gland is pituitary. Okay, and they also ask you one question: what is the stimulus? Hormones are not being released continuously, so they are asking what is the stimulus for hormone release. Okay, so pituitary, pituitary is a gland which has two parts. One is anterior pituitary, the other is posterior pituitary, and pituitary is under the influence of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. Anterior pituitary releases what all hormones? Growth hormone, it releases prolactin, TSH. TSH is TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone. Then it releases GnRH, gonadotropic releasing hormone. And then it releases ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. So what is pituitary releasing? The anterior pituitary is releasing 5 hormones: growth hormone, prolactin, TSH, GnRH, ACTH. Posterior pituitary, it releases oxytocin and ADH. ADH is also known as vasopressin. Okay. Hypothalamus controls the anterior pituitary directly, whereas hypothalamus controls the posterior pituitary via neural connection. Whereas it controls the anterior pituitary via blood connection, which is known as the hypophyseal portal system. Okay. And hypothalamus has various releasing hormones and inhibiting hormones. That is, hypothalamus, if it wants to get the hormones released from the pituitary, so it will give a releasing hormone. If it wants to stop the release from the pituitary, it will give a inhibiting hormone. So hypothalamus has the various releasing and inhibiting hormones. Now, hypothalamus control on the posterior pituitary. See, you have to remember one more thing here. All the hormones which are given by anterior pituitary, they are produced and secreted by anterior pituitary, whereas in the posterior pituitary they are only secreted. The oxytocin and ADH, they are produced where? They are produced in hypothalamus itself, and via this nerve they come and they are only secreted from here. Whereas in the anterior pituitary, all the hormones are produced here itself and secreted from here. So this is the basic that you need to remember. Okay, now functions. What is the function of growth hormone? It will lead to the growth and development of the baby. If excessive, it will lead to acromegaly. If less, it will lead to dwarfism. Okay, then comes prolactin. Prolactin is for milk secretion. In the breast, milk secretion. TSH will go and stimulate the thyroxine. GnRH will go on the gonads and stimulate the release of gonadal hormones. ACTH will go on the adrenal and release the adrenal hormones. Okay. Now, what is the function of oxytocin? Oxytocin is related with milk ejection or milk secretion, whereas vasopressin is related with water balance. Okay, you have to understand, vasopressin, whenever we feel that we are having dehydration, okay, that is the water is lost from the body. Whenever the water is lost from the body, the blood becomes gadha, viscous, osmolarity of the blood increases, and this is the stimulus for the hypothalamus to release ADH. And so it synthesizes ADH. This ADH travels via the nerve, reaches the pituitary, and from pituitary it gets released. And when it gets released, it tells the kidney, please do not let the water go out. So it reabsorbs the water. So the water deficit which was produced in the body, it starts covering up. Okay, so if they ask you, stimulus for ADH release is dehydration. Stimulus for ADH releases dehydration. Okay. One more thing to note is, this is not milk secretion, milk synthesis. Milk synthesis is by prolactin. Milk ejection is by oxytocin. Okay. This is a trap question here. If they tell you that there is a hormone which is synthesizing the milk, then that is prolactin. The synthesized milk has to come out of the nipple, that is oxytocin. Okay. Then another trap question. Water balance is a feature of ADH, and sodium water balance is feature of aldosterone. Okay. Aldosterone. Understood? So this is all about pituitary. Coming to hypothalamus. In hypothalamus, you have to understand its endocrine role. First is it controls pituitary. This we have seen. Second is its role in eating. We have seen ventromedial is satiety center. Ventrolateral is hunger center. Okay. And what is used for satiety? Leptin. Whereas ghrelin and orexin are hunger hormones. Okay. This we have seen. Then we have to understand its role in temperature and its role in thirst. Let's see the role in temperature. How does it regulate temperature? So in hypothalamus, you have a anterior nuclei and a posterior nuclei. Okay. The anterior nuclei, it stimulates parasympathetic system, which causes sweating and vasodilation. This will ultimately lead to hypothermia. Hypothermia means, hypo means less, thermia means temperature. So it will make us feel cold. But to balance this action, on the posterior side, hypothalamus has a nuclei which stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system leads to vasoconstriction and shivering. And when shivering is there in the body, heat is generated, which will lead to hyperthermia. Hyper means increased, thermia means temperature, increased temperature, which means the person will feel hot. And the balance between this cold and hot keeps our body temperature regulated. Okay. So hypothalamus had a role in eating, ventromedial, ventrolateral, now anterior and posterior. Anterior is related with parasympathetic system. Parasympathetic system is related with vasodilation and hypothermia. Posterior is related with sympathetic nervous system, which is related to vasoconstriction and shivering and hyperthermia. That's it. Okay. So only this much you have to know about hypothalamus. Okay. Thirst. Hypothalamus and thirst. This is a bit difficult topic, and in 1 minute we have to cover. So let's see. Let's say the body is undergoing dehydration. When the body is undergoing dehydration, that is, water is less in the body. When the water is less, the blood will become gadha. That is, the blood osmolarity will increase, and this change in osmolarity is caught by osmoreceptors. Osmoreceptors tell the hypothalamus that there is something which is not right with the body. Now hypothalamus, what it does is, it stimulates its paraventricular nuclei, and due to this paraventricular nuclei stimulation, we feel thirst. We feel thirsty. When we will feel thirsty, we will drink water, and when we drink water, dehydration is covered. Okay. Second thing it does is, hypothalamus, very chalak it is, it stimulates ADH production. ADH will tell the kidney to retain the water. Now water is not going out. There is no urination. And when water is not going out of the body, water is conserved. It will help in covering up dehydration. Okay. So by two mechanisms, it helps us cover dehydration. Okay. Then Coming to thyroid. Thyroid is a gland which is situated in the front of neck. How does it act? Hypothalamus gives the signal to pituitary. Pituitary gives the signal to thyroid gland. Thyroid gland releases T3 and T4, which are thyroxine. Okay, and the main function is to maintain the energy metabolism. Okay, or we call it as basal metabolic rate. Okay, hypothalamus gives which signal? It gives TRH. Pituitary releases TSH. Okay. So if thyroxine is more, energy will be more. So patient will have heat intolerance. This is known as thyrotoxicosis or Graves' disease. When thyroxine is less in the body, the patient will become obese. The patient will feel cold. So patient will have cold intolerance. This is known as hypothyroidism. Okay. That is all about thyroid. And after thyroid, behind the thyroid, in the neck only, we have parathyroid glands. Parathyroid glands. Parathyroid glands are related with calcium metabolism. Okay. Calcium metabolism. See, you have to understand calcium metabolism because I have seen questions in your paper. What happens is, when there is decreased calcium in the blood, this decreased calcium is sensed by parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland releases parathyroid hormone. When this gland releases parathyroid hormone, this parathyroid hormone will act at three places: bone, kidney and intestine. On bone, bone has calcium deposited on it. Bone is the factory of calcium. So parathyroid will break the bone and the calcium will come into the blood. So the calcium which was less in blood gets recovered. Second mechanism is that parathyroid will act on the kidney. It will tell kidney to not throw out calcium, to reabsorb calcium. And when kidney reabsorbs calcium, it gives the calcium to blood. Then in the intestine, parathyroid does not act directly. What does parathyroid do in the intestine? It converts vitamin D inactive to vitamin D active. Okay, this is by parathyroid. And vitamin D, it stimulates calcium absorption. Vitamin D stimulates calcium absorption. Okay, and the hormone which does exactly opposite of this is calcitonin. Parathyroid is what it is doing. It is breaking bone. Calcitonin will take the calcium from the blood and give it to bone. Parathyroid is taking the calcium from the kidney to the blood. Calcitonin will take the calcium from the blood to the kidney to throw it out. So they are exactly opposite of each other. So parathyroid will increase blood calcium. Calcitonin will decrease blood calcium, and their level maintains the calcium regulation. Okay. Now coming to pancreas. Pancreas is a mixed gland with both endocrine and exocrine function. There are alpha beta cells. Alpha cells release glucagon. Beta cells release insulin, and it is related in the blood sugar control, blood sugar metabolism. Okay. So what happens is, whenever we eat a meal, our blood sugar rises, and when in the blood sugar rises, this is sensed by pancreas, especially the beta cells. Beta cells release insulin. What will insulin do now? Insulin will say, okay, in blood sugar is more, I will make the cells more permeable to sugar. So sugar will enter the cells, and by this mechanism the sugar decreases in the blood. Okay, sugar decreases in the blood. Okay, now the opposite of this is done by glucagon. When blood sugar is low, this is sensed again by pancreas, especially alpha cells. Alpha cells release glucagon. Glucagon go and ask liver. Liver has stored a lot of glucose. When this glucose comes in the cell, it gets stored. Let's say this is liver. So liver has stored a lot of glucose. This stored glucose is known as glycogen. Now glucagon will ask this glycogen to break down, and when glycogen breaks down, it releases glucose. That is, the sugar will increase in the blood. This is how they maintain the blood sugar levels. Okay, and if this insulin does not work properly, it leads to diabetes mellitus. Okay, then coming to adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is located over the kidney. It has two parts: adrenal medulla, adrenal cortex. Adrenal medulla, it releases catecholamines, the stress hormones. The names are adrenaline and noradrenaline. Okay, whereas adrenal cortex, it has three layers: the glomerulosa, the fasciculata, the reticulata, which you don't need to remember. Just remember, from the first layer aldosterone is released, from the second layer cortisol is released, and from the third layer sex steroids are released. Sex steroids like DHEA. Okay, then aldosterone, what is the function? Sodium water balance. Okay, whenever in the body there is less BP aldosterone comes and it increases the BP. Just remember this much. Cortisol is to fight chronic stress. Whereas for acute stress is catecholamines. Acute means immediate stress. If there is long-term stress, then cortisol. If there is long-term stress, then cortisol. Okay. Then how does this function? Hypothalamus gives the signal to pituitary, gives the signal to adrenal, and adrenal releases its hormone from the medulla and cortex. Okay. Hypothalamus gives what? Hypothalamus gives CRH, pituitary gives ACTH. Okay. Then second last is pineal gland. Just remember that pineal gland releases melatonin, which makes us sleep. And in the sleep, I have discussed it in detail. Just remember that melatonin is released from the pineal gland. Last is gonads. So hypothalamus gives the signal to pituitary gives to the gonads. Hypothalamus releases GnRH, pituitary releases FSH and LH. These go and act on the gonads. Okay, when FSH and LH, they act on female, they do oogenesis. Oogenesis is the egg coming out during the menses. Okay, and they help to secrete estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone make female a female. Okay, the female secondary sexual characteristics and all are due to estrogen and progesterone only. In males, they do spermatogenesis, development of the sperm, and secondary sexual characteristics like beard and all. Okay, this is all for endocrine rapid revision. Thank you.